Alright, yes, welcome back to another deck video for you today. Today we're going to be going over Armaldo Lock. Now Armaldo Lock is revolving around this Armaldo that says as long as this Pokemon is your active, each player can't play any supporter cards. So what you're going to try to do is you're going to lock out supporters, and then you're also going to lock out some other cards, and basically you're going to try to make your opponent just not play any cards from their deck, and slowly whittle away with them with Blade Arms, or this Armaldo from Steam Seeds as well. You play it with, like I said, with item lock, with a lot of item-based draw, so that you can still draw cards. But I mean, like once you get the lock up, you actually really don't need to draw any more cards, because all you're going to need to do is just damage them over and over again and just prevent them from knocking you out is really all you're intending to do. So, with Armaldo in the active, they can't shut it down with stuff like Lysander, Guzma, or Hex because they can't play supporter cards. So if it's in the active, the only way they're going to get it out of the active is by an item-based switching effect or goop. So it's like an Elite Four card. And if they don't have an Elite Four card they already use, that's why you can like work around their Elite Four card, right? If they've already used their catcher or their goop, you know that this is going to be safe. So, Escape Rope would be the other item-based one to get out of the active. So, we do play that Armaldo. We also are going to play this Armaldo, which is actually one of the, just a bananas good card. For 1 energy, does 40 damage, and you move an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon to one of his or her benched. So you're going to move stuff basically to like their Claydol, maybe to even their Spiritomb. I mean, Spiritomb, they can still like swoop it out of the way, but really going to like just stick it on the Claydol, stick it on the Porygon, stick it on stuff that's just like not ever really going to attack. And you're dealing 40 over and over again, so it's a way to stall. And it's 150 HP non-EX, which is awesome. And then you slap a DC on there, and you have Guard Claw, which is 100 damage and reduces by 30. On 150 HP Pokemon, 100 reduced by 30. That's bananas. That's a really good card. So that's how you play both of them. You have the option to lock supporters, and you have the energy disruption and tankiness of that. It's going to be a 2-2 line, evolving from 1 Claw Fossil, and then 4 Mysterious Fossils. That's what it's going to evolve from. It's more than enough to get the job done. If you need a stall, you have all these Mysterious Fossil options there. But you may ask yourself, what's your item lock thing you're playing? And we're going to play the item locking Houndoom here, a 1-1 line. And this Houndoom says if you have less Pokemon on your side of the field than your opponent, they can't play items. So you can still play items with this guy out. So you can do some cool like escape rope things if you need a if you need to play Armaldo, you can escape rope into it. Thanks, cat. So you can wow. You can item lock them if you have less cards on your side. So we're gonna play a lot of cards that really like prevent your side from getting too many Pokemon on it, like Scoop Up, Super Scoop Up, Mr. Fuji, that sort of thing. You're basically just going to have these two and maybe one support Pokemon out, and that's kind of just like the name of the game. And at that point, they can't play. They can only play Pokemon and energy cards from their hand, really. So that's kind of the goal, is to get this lockup, but you also have this Armaldo just to start doing crazy good things mid to late game. So, the other cards we're going to play, we're not going to play very many other Pokemon because we don't want very many Pokemon on our side of the field. The rest of them are mainly just support Pokemon. You're going to have Unknown R and Unknown AOR for the extra draw power based off Pokemon, and then Unknown Q to help you retreat a little bit, as well as the Ditto, which does, it switches with one of your Pokemon in your discard pile, so it virtually just becomes another Unknown. It's just kind of ways to draw cards and ways to get things off the bench. That's what you got there. And then your support Pokemon, you have the 1-1 Claydol, the Lapras, and the Uxie, and then Spiritomb. You're not going to play Dunsparce because there's not very many basic Pokemon that you need. So you're not going to play that, but you still play Spiritomb to get that early item lock and really prevent your opponent from getting too much stuff set up. And it helps you set up your, if you just have the Spiritomb and then, like, let's say, the Houndour on the bench and maybe like the Baltoy, if they Lysander up and you have the Houndoom down by then, they still can't play items. So Lysander doesn't normally save them from items, and that early item lock can really slow down their setup. Something that you really kind of need. Moving on with supporter cards, searching cards, we're going to have a Wally, Karina, which is better in this deck because you're playing fighting cards, Skyla, Rosie's, Ninja Boy to help you get that stuff off of your bench, switch for, there's not very many basics in this deck, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have these guys here, all those, plus your Houndour. So basically, if you need to get one of these off the bench, you can Ninja Boy it for the Unknown R or the Unknown AOR or even the Ditto, and get it off your bench that way. You just retire it away. So that's where you have it. That's it for searching. For draw cards, You actually only just play rockets, you don't play N, and the reason is because you don't want to give your opponent more cards because they're not going to be drawing cards. You still have the one for the late game prowess of this card, which is very, very good, and it's a catch-up card, but like if you're locking them, you don't want this being like your only draw support. So we only play one. We play Judge for that extra disruption as well. We're going to play Pont and Colress, as well as Copycat. Copycat's really good because they're going to end up clumping up their hand, because they can't play items and supporters, so Copycat will draw you more. Sycamore and Juniper as well for those draw cards. For switching cards, we're going to play a lot. Actually, we're going to play the full maximum here. We're going to play AZ and Brimes. We're going to play Cassius, Lysander, and Guzma. Always 3 ways to get Pokemon off your discard or off your bench, and then 2 switching cards for your opponent. Recovery cards, we're going to have Trump card and Marlies. For draw 2 cards, we're going to play Mallow, Teammates, and Twins. You will fall behind in this deck because it takes a lot to set up, but once you lock them, you'll be fine. And then Hex Maniac to finish it out. Remember, when you Hex, you're going to give them items, so Hex is really just going to be a catch-up card, not an aggressive, shut-you-down card. Like I said, this deck does take a lot to set up, so just make that, you got to keep that in mind that while this deck does sound good on paper, locking out all of their stuff, it does take a lot to get to that, and you really have to just keep in mind of where the game state is and what you can sacrifice and what you can't, what you can set up and what you can't. So, searching items, we're going to have Level Ball, Evo Soda, Lux Ball, PCOM, Swoop, Computer Search, and Ultra Ball, the standard 7 kind of best search cards in the game here. You're also, for draw cards, you're going to have Misty's Wrath, Professor Oaks, Blaine's 1, 2, and 3, Bill, Pokédex Handy, and Acrobike. Like I said, we're playing a full complement of draw cards just to kind of get those extra energies into your hand when you are supporter locked with the Armaldo in your hand. Recovery, we're going to have Junk Arm and Atom Fighter versus Seeker and Palpad, and then Pokemon Retriever and Super Rod. Full, just normal, standard stuff there, nothing too weird. For switching cards, we are going to play a Super Scoop Up, help get your stuff off the bench. Same with Scoop Up and Fuji, just getting stuff off your bench. You want to have less Pokemon on your bench so you can item lock them. Escape Rope to get out of the active. I don't actually play anything else other than that, so you could also consider a Switch and a Warp Point just to get the Armaldo out of the active so you're not supporter locking yourself. But, I mean, when you supporter lock yourself, when you go into that Armaldo, you kind of know that you're going to lock both your opponents out, so you can kind of prep for that. We do play the 4. You play the Perfume, the Pokepuff, the Target Whistle, and the Flute. And the reason is so that if your opponent's trying to limit their bench to get items, you can do this so that, like, hey, dude, like, you still can't play items. Sorry, that Lapras is coming right back from the discard pile. And then Field Blower and an Oaks Invention to round it out. Like I said, I think the only thing that could be added to this section would be a Switch if you really need to play a supporter card and you're Armaldo locking yourself. But like I said, normally when you go into Armaldo lock, you're going to, like, prep your hand for that scenario, and you're going to say, alright, I'm support locking both players. This Armaldo is either going to die before I get supporters, or my opponent's going to suffer and I'm just going to win. Stadium cards, we're going to have Broken Time Space because we're playing Evolutions. We're also going to run Stark Mountain to help you get a little bit of that extra acceleration. The supporter locking Armaldo just take 2 fightings and a colorless to attack for 60, which isn't great, but hey, you're supporter locking them and item locking them, so it makes up for the lack of damage. And then we're also playing Parallel City to help limit your own bench. If you end up having a whole bunch of stuff on your bench, it's pretty easy to get it off, but Parallel City is just even one more way to help free up your bench spaces. Moving on here to items, you're going to have Float Stone and Fluffy Berry, extra ways to retreat out of your Armaldo lock if you ever need to, Focus Sash to keep your Armaldo healthy, Muscle Band to help your Armaldo's damage, and then EXP Share, you can throw that on one of your Mysterious Fossils to help charge that up, so if your Armaldo ever gets knocked out, you're ready to come back at it with another one. Kind of makes sense there. I think Choice Band would be the only other one that you would want to add. We do play all 4 Elite Four and Dowsing Machine. Like I said, when you go into the Goop Gas attack, make sure you're doing it from a behind position where you're trying to get back into the game, not playing it while you're locked. And then Special Energies, we're going to play a Strong Energy because we are playing fighting decks. Double Rainbow, that's going to go on both Armaldos, and it's going to work really well to charge up those Armaldos. DCE to go onto the Armaldo from Steam Siege, and then 3, 6, 9, 10 fighting energies, more than enough. You only need to attack with 1 with the Steam Siege one, which is going to slow down your opponent until you get that lock set up. So yeah, that is our Armaldo lock. It is kind of a funky deck. Your opponent does have to play around stuff that they normally wouldn't play around. It does get kind of bopped by decks that are just faster than it, and decks that can like outspeed you and get past the locking stage. But if you're able to get that Armaldo lock up soon, where you get both the Pokemon up, if you get that in the first 2-3 turns, it's really hard for your opponent to draw cards, right? So this deck could be playing some other cards. You could play like Porygon Z, and red card combo, but we don't play the Porygons because of bench space, so that's one thing there. If you really wanted to, since we don't play Porygon Z, you could play the Omastar. Omastar Aerodactyl stuff can go in this deck, just for that little bit of extra damage. And then, like I said, extra switching cards so that you can get out of your supporter lock if you need to. That does it. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, hope you have a good one.